Hey there, welcome. You found your way to a cozy corner of the internet where stories unfold slowly, gently, just enough to let your mind wander and drift. For the next hour, I'll be reading a collection of Reddit stories. Real, raw, sometimes funny, sometimes emotional, but always soothing. There's nothing you need to do right now, no decisions to make, no tasks to finish. Just settle in, close your eyes if you'd like, and let these stories carry you into sleep. Or at least a peaceful state of rest. So take a deep breath and let's begin. Am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive my husband after he accidentally exposed one of my deepest secrets during his podcast and then tried to spin it into content? My name isn't really Claire, but let's just go with that. I, 33F, have been married to Jason, 36M, for 6 years. We met at a Halloween party where he was dressed as a slice of pizza and I was a zombie bride. I spilled tequila on him and he said, "Well, I guess you're hot and I'm greasy. Match made in heaven." It was stupid, but it worked. We clicked instantly. Jason is what you'd call a personality. He's loud, magnetic, always performing for a crowd, even when there isn't one. He's been chasing a creative career since I met him. Music for a while, sketch comedy with some friends, stand-up that went nowhere, and eventually podcasting. I've supported him through every iteration. I've worked a stable corporate job to keep us afloat, took on freelance gigs when his side hustles weren't paying, paid rent when he couldn't. I did it all because I loved him, and because he believed in himself so hard it was contagious. About 2 years ago, Jason's podcast started gaining traction. It was a mix of dark humor, true crime, relationship advice, and random storytelling. He and his co-host Mark, who I actually used, would riff on bizarre Reddit threads, react to listener submissions, and tell wild stories from their lives. The show was called Trashfire Confidential. It was raunchy, funny, and took off fast. Within a year they were monetized, had sponsors, and Jason was making real money for the first time since we'd met. I was happy for him. Proud, even. But I started noticing something. The more popular he got, the more lines he crossed. At first it was small stuff. He'd exaggerate a fight we had to make it sound funnier, or tell an embarrassing story about my cooking mishap without warning me. He always brushed it off. "It's just content, babe. You come off great. People love you." And I let it go. But then came the episode. I didn't hear it when it went live. I was slammed at work and figured I'd catch up later. But 3 hours after it dropped, I got a text from my cousin Rachel. "Is this about you?" I had no idea what she was talking about. I asked her to explain. She sent me a clip. Jason's voice, loud and animated, filled my headphones. The segment was called Secrets You'd Take to the Grave, and they were reading anonymous confessions from listeners. Only Jason, for some ungodly reason, decided to throw in a bonus one from my own life. I still remember every word. I once dated someone who had a really traumatic experience in college. Like, seriously dark. She was assaulted by a professor and never told anyone except me. I was the first person she trusted. She didn't report it, never got justice. Just carried it for years. There was a pause. Mark whistled. "Damn, that's heavy." Jason laughed. "Yeah, man, she's amazing though, strong. She told me about it one night when we were both drunk and crying over old episodes of Grey's Anatomy. I'll never forget it." Then Mark asked, "So what happened to her?" And Jason, my husband, said, "I married her. My blood went cold. I replayed it 5 times. I thought maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe it was some metaphor. But no, it was me, my secret, my trauma. Broadcast to hundreds of thousands of people, like it was some juicy anecdote to fill time between ads for meal kits and Bluetooth razors." I confronted him the second he walked through the door. He tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. Said he didn't name names, that I was being dramatic, that it was powerful and people would be moved. He genuinely seemed confused as to why I was shaking with rage. "You violated me," I said. "You took something I only told you, something I've carried for 10 years and used it for entertainment." He swore he'd take it down. But then his producer called, said the episode was their most downloaded yet, said sponsors were thrilled, said they got real for once and people were hungry for that. And Jason hesitated. That was when I knew. He chose the audience, the brand, the content, not me. I didn't speak to him for 3 days. I stayed at my sister's house. During that time, he didn't pull the episode. He didn't apologize publicly. Instead, he posted a teaser on Instagram. "This week we get real, trauma, trust, and the stories we don't tell is until now." It went viral, and then it got worse, because people figured it out. My cousin knew because I'd told her the story. Once, she put 2 and 2 together. Others did too. My name started showing up in Reddit threads, in comments, in DMs from strangers. Some were supportive. Others? Not so much. Why didn't she report it? Sounds fake. Clout chaser. She's just mad he's successful now. I went numb. I felt like I was watching a version of myself being dissected by internet vultures, and all I could do was scream into a void. When I went back home, I packed a bag. Told Jason I was leaving. His face finally cracked then. He begged, cried, swore. He'd take it all down. Said he'd never meant to hurt me, but then I asked one question. "Why didn't you call me before you posted it?" And he had no answer, because deep down, he did mean to use it. Maybe not maliciously, but selfishly. He thought it would be good for the show, good for the numbers. He thought I'd forgive him after the high passed. He thought wrong. It's been 3 months. I'm living with my sister. I've spoken to a lawyer. Divorce papers are drafted but not filed yet. He still calls me, texts me, says he wants to fix it, that he'll go to therapy, that he'll shut the podcast down, but it's too late, isn't it? He can't put the genie back in the bottle. My secret is out there. My pain is a punchline. I walk into rooms now and wonder, who knows? Who's listened? Who's pictured me in that moment I tried to bury? And the worst part of me still loves him. Because he wasn't always like this. Because I thought he was my forever. Because I still remember the guy in the pizza costume who made me laugh when I thought I'd never trust another man again. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for walking away from a marriage over one podcast episode? Or did I finally realize that some betrayals don't need bruises to leave scars? Am I the a-hole for revealing a family secret during my wedding vows? I didn't mean for it to come out like that. Actually, that's a lie. I did. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I did it with a smile on my face while my soon-to-be mother-in-law choked on her champagne, and my now ex-fiancé looked like he'd been hit by a freight train. But before you judge me, and trust me, I know how it sounds, just listen. Because if you knew what I knew, you might have lit the match too. Let me. Rewind Die, 27F, was engaged to Eric, 28M. We'd been together for 3 years, lived together for 2, and I thought he was the love of my life. He's charming, funny, and he used to look at me like I was the only person in the world that mattered. He'd make me tea when I was sick, leave little notes in my coat pockets, and once flew across the country just to surprise me for my birthday after telling me he couldn't make it. So yeah, I was in it. Deep. But let me tell you a thing about people who are really good at hiding who they are. They also tend to be really good at hiding things they've done. The first red flag came about 9 months before the wedding. I was helping Eric clean out his closet. He's a bit of a hoarder, no shame. I collect weird mugs and horror movie DVDs. So he asked me to help him sort through stuff. At the bottom of one of his boxes, I found this little velvet jewelry pouch. My stomach kind of fluttered. Naively, I thought maybe it was a surprise gift or something he'd gotten me early. Inside, a locket, old-looking, gold. Not my style and definitely not new. It had a picture of a baby inside, a little boy. On the back was engraved, "To see, our little miracle. Love always, M." I asked Eric who it was. He froze, then got weirdly defensive. Said it must have belonged to his mum, that she probably threw it in his stuff by mistake when she helped him move out of his childhood home. I let it go, but something didn't feel right. Fast forward to a month later. We're having dinner at his parents' house. His mum is tipsy on Chardonnay, and his dad's passed out watching golf. She starts rambling about family legacies and how it's so important that we don't repeat the same mistakes. I try to be polite, nod along, and then she blurts, "Well, at least you're not that poor girl from years ago. You know, the one with the baby? God, what was her name again?" Eric's face goes pale. I mean ghost pale. And he jumps up so fast. He knocks over his wine. That poor girl with the baby. I know I should have asked questions then, pressed harder, but his mom sobered up instantly and changed the subject, and Eric gaslit me for weeks, said I was overthinking, that his mom was losing it, that she might have been talking about his cousin's friend or someone random, so I let it drop again, because love is stupid, and I didn't want to believe he was hiding something huge. Cut to 4 months before the wedding. I get a message on Facebook from someone I don't know. It's a woman. Her name is Elise. She's in her early 30s and says she has something important to tell me about Eric. At first I think it's some scam, or worse, some crazy ex trying to stir up drama. But the curiosity eats at me, so I reply. I agree to meet her at a coffee shop, public place, broad daylight, and my life implodes. Elise tells me that when she was 17, she got pregnant. The father was her best friend's older brother, Eric. They had a messy summer fling. He promised her the world, then ghosted her the second she said she was pregnant. She tried to reach out, he blocked her. His parents threatened her with lawyers. She was scared, young and broke, so she gave birth alone to a little boy, Caleb. Now 10 years old, she pulls out a photo. My blood runs cold, because he has Eric's exact eyes. That same crooked smile. She said she wasn't looking for money or revenge. She just wanted me to know who I was marrying, that Eric had a son he refused to acknowledge, that he knew all these years, that he pretended it never happened, that he lied. I left that coffee shop and vomited in the parking lot. When I confronted Eric, he didn't deny it. I was young, he said. I wasn't ready to be a dad. She should have had an abortion. I stared at him like he was someone I'd never met. But you are a dad, I said. He's 10 years old. He got quiet. Then the cherry on top, I just didn't think it mattered anymore. It's not like I'm part of his life. I never even held him. I should have left him then. I know that. But there's something about planning a wedding for a year, having every detail locked in, and realizing your future is a lie. It makes you desperate. You try to cling to the parts that still feel real. We fought, cried, he apologized, promised therapy, promised to reach out to Caleb, promised everything, and like a fool I stayed, but I didn't forget. So I started planning something of my own. Not revenge, not exactly, more like truth, a reckoning, because if I was going to bind myself to someone, forever I needed everyone in that room to know who he really was, especially his family, especially him. The day of the wedding came. It was beautiful, rustic barn, warm string lights, soft music. Everyone was crying before I even said a word. Then it was time for vows. He went first, talked about fate, about soulmates, about our future kids, and then I started mine. I vow to always be honest, I said, to never hide the truth even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when that truth is something ugly, like knowing my future husband abandoned a child he helped create. Gasps. A champagne glass shattered. Somewhere someone started praying. I vow to never pretend I didn't see what I saw. A photo of a little boy with my fiancé's smile. A locket engraved with a message of love he pretended wasn't real. A decade of lies buried under wedding programs and guest lists. His face. Oh God, his face. It turned 10 different shades. I have read. His mother dropped into her seat like her legs gave out. His brother laughed like he couldn't believe I actually did it, and I kept going. I vow to walk away from people who choose denial over decency. And I vow right here in front of all of you to choose better for myself. Starting now. I put the microphone down. And I walked away, veil trailing behind me, like a ghost bride from a gothic movie. People called me dramatic, cruel. Said I should have talked to him privately. But I did. He just didn't listen. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for exposing my ex-fiancé's biggest secret during our wedding vows and walking out? Or did I just finally stop being the fool in someone else's love story? Am I the a-hole for burning the letters my dead sister left behind? I didn't want to open this can of worms. I've tried to let it go, to tell myself it's over and that I'm not responsible for other people's ghosts. But lately, every time I look in the mirror, I see her face instead of mine. That smug half-smile, that judgmental tilt of her head, that whispered question echoing in my skull. How far would you go to protect the people you love? I guess you're about to find out what I did. My sister Callie was the golden child. Not in the traditional way, she didn't get the best grades or win awards. But she was charismatic, magnetic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and immediately become the center of it without trying. I was 2 years younger, awkward, shy, and obsessed with order. I alphabetized my books. She painted on the walls. I labeled the jars in the pantry. She smoked in the attic with the windows open and dared me to snitch, but I never did, even when she stole from our mom's purse. Even when she got arrested for shoplifting makeup from CVS. Even when I caught her sneaking into our teacher's house one night, just to look around. Callie was chaos with perfect teeth and high cheekbones, and I was the shadow following her, cleaning up the mess. We were 19 and 21 when she died. Car accident. Late at night. She was driving too fast, as usual. It was raining. She took a curve. Too hard and smashed into a tree. Died instantly. At her funeral, they said things like she was a bright light. She lived without fear. I remember staring at her closed casket, thinking, you finally found the one mess you couldn't walk away from. That's when the letters started arriving. The first one came 3 weeks after the funeral. It was addressed to me, in her handwriting, postmarked 2 days before her death. Inside was a single page. If you're reading this, I probably fecked up. Again. But this time it's bigger. If something happens to me, check under the floorboards in the attic. You'll know what to do, or at least I hope you will. P.S. Don't trust anyone, not even Mom. I thought it was a prank. Some final trick, some dramatic Callie-style flourish meant to spook me. But I checked. I went into the attic and pulled up the floorboards. There was a box. Inside, 5 thick envelopes, each sealed, labeled with names. One for me, one for our mom, one for her ex-boyfriend Theo, one for our high school principal, and one marked only DA office, confidential. My hands shook reading them. The letter addressed to me was the longest. In it, Callie confessed to everything. She admitted she'd been part of a group stealing prescription pads from local doctors and selling scripts to high school kids. She said she'd been pressured into it by Theo, who was running something bigger than I'd ever imagined, falsifying records, threatening people. She even hinted that he may have caused accidents to keep people quiet. She wanted out. She said she'd threatened to go to the police. She said she was scared, paranoid, that someone had been following her. She ended with, if I don't make it out, I need someone to make sure this doesn't get buried. Someone who's not afraid to burn everything down. I sat in the attic for hours, crying, nauseated, stunned, and then I did the exact opposite of what she asked. I burned the box, every letter, every page. I burned it in the fire pit behind the house in the middle of the night. My hands shook the entire time. My brain screamed, what are you doing? But my heart said, this will destroy everything, because it would have. If the letter to Mom had gone through, she would have known the truth about the family friend who got Callie that job, the one she still had dinner with every Thursday. If Theo had been exposed, who knows what kind of retaliation he would have unleashed on our town, on the families of the kids he was selling pills to. If the DA had gotten that letter, there would have been an investigation. Names dragged through the mud, trials, scandal, headlines, suicide maybe, a second funeral. I thought I was protecting people. I convinced myself of that. I told myself I was cleaning up her final mess, the worst mess, the one that could consume everyone she'd ever touched. I kept it secret, told no one, not even my therapist, and it might have ended there. Except 6 months ago I saw Theo again. I was at a farmer's market with my fiancée, and there he was, wearing a collared shirt, holding a toddler's hand, clean, smiling, free. He saw me, smiled like we were old friends, said, crazy about Callie, huh? She always was wild. That night I threw up for 2 hours, couldn't sleep. I started spiraling. I became obsessed. I started digging again, looking into police records. Old. Rumors. I even tracked down someone Callie had mentioned once, her friend Mia, who'd been in rehab. Mia confirmed it all, told me Theo had used them both. Said she'd tried to go to the cops once and been scared off, that people got hurt. I went back to the fire pit, looked at the scorched earth. I thought about the letters, the ashes. I thought about Callie's eyes, mocking, sad, terrified, when she wrote that letter, and I started to wonder, did she really die by accident? I went to the police. I told them I had reason to believe foul play was involved in my sister's death. I gave them names, timelines, connections. They took it under advisement, which is code for they think I'm nuts. Then last week I got a letter, no return address. Inside was a photo, a burned piece of paper, just enough legible to read. Don't trust anyone. It was from Callie's letter, the one I burned. Someone has it, someone saved it. I don't know who. I'm scared. I'm angry. I'm unraveling. I don't know if I did the right thing or if I betrayed the last person who ever trusted me. Reddit, I need to know. Am I the a-hole for burning the truth to protect the people my sister was trying to save? Am I the a-hole for outing my brother's secret family at his own wedding? Let me start with this. I never intended to be that person who stands up and ruins a wedding. I'm not dramatic by nature. I'm the opposite of an attention seeker. I like quiet mornings, books, routine, and not being the subject of family group chat gossip. I'm a 32-year-old woman who works in accounting and owns more cardigans than any person really should. That being said, I may have become the villain of our entire family tree, depending on who you ask, because I exposed my brother's double life in front of 200 people. Let's rewind. My brother, Alan, 36M, has always been the golden child. He was born 4 years before me and somehow inherited every good trait in the family. Tall, charming, funny, and unnaturally good at making adults like him. As kids, I was the quiet one who read under the table. He was the one doing magic tricks. At dinner to make Grandma laugh. When he got older, he became a firefighter, which only added to his mythos. My parents would brag about him to strangers. He saves lives. He's a hero. Meanwhile, I was the one they forgot to pick up from soccer practice. Alan has always been a serial dater. His longest relationship before his now wife, Naomi, lasted maybe a year, and he ended it because she folded his laundry wrong. But Naomi was different. He met her at some charity gala 3 years ago, and suddenly he was in love. She was everything he wanted, gorgeous, smart, a veterinarian. My mom practically wept with joy, and she seemed to actually tame him. He stopped partying, got serious, talked about buying a house. He even started going to church with her. I'll admit it, I liked Naomi. She was kind to me in a way most of his exes weren't. She'd invite me over for brunch, ask about my job, remember little things I said. I genuinely believed he was finally ready to settle down. The engagement came fast. Like suspiciously fast. He proposed 6 months in. My parents were thrilled. Naomi's parents were thrilled. Everyone was thrilled, except me. Because I knew something no one else did, something I had kept quiet about for over 2 years. And I kept quiet because I thought he was ending it. I thought he was doing the right thing. I thought he wouldn't be so insane as to juggle both. I was wrong. You see, Alan has a son none of our extended family knows about, a son Naomi definitely doesn't know about. His name is Micah. He's 4. And he lives with his mother, Lila, in a small apartment 40 minutes away. I found out because I bumped into Lila at a bookstore. She was with Micah. He looked just like Alan. I didn't even have to ask. She recognized me and said, "You're Alan's sister, right?" I nodded, stunned. That's when she told me everything. They had been seeing each other casually, on and off for years. She got pregnant. He freaked out, begged her not to tell anyone, promised to support her privately, but couldn't be involved because his family would never understand. And then he disappeared, occasionally sent money, visited once a month, told her not to post anything online, said he wasn't ready to ruin his life. I was horrified. I confronted him. We argued. He told me it was complicated and that he wasn't sure the kid was even his, despite the face being a carbon copy. I told him he was a coward. He told me to mind my own business, that he was handling it, that he was going to do the right thing eventually. Fast forward to now. Wedding day. We're in a giant rented hall. Naomi looks like a dream, in her dress. My parents are sobbing with joy. The photographer keeps directing me to stand closer to Alan, saying, "Siblings, let's get a shot of just the siblings." I smile. My stomach churns. Lila texts me. She didn't know today was the wedding. She saw it on Facebook. Someone tagged Alan in a rehearsal dinner post. She says, "So much for him doing the right thing." That's when something in me breaks. I'm standing near the cake when the DJ announces, "Can we get everyone's attention for a few words from the maid of honor?" That's me. I walk up, heart pounding, microphone in hand, everyone looking at me. I don't even remember what I planned to say. It just comes out. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate Alan and Naomi. I think it's important on a day like this, to be honest, to be transparent, to really understand what commitment means. Alan's not just committing to Naomi today. He's committing to being a husband, a future father, a man of integrity. Or at least he should be. But integrity means acknowledging your past. People are shifting now. Alan is staring at me like I've grown 2 heads. That includes acknowledging your children, even the ones you've kept secret, even the ones who are alive and well and being raised by someone else while you build a new life without them. Dead silence. Naomi says, "What is she talking about?" I turn to her. "He has a son, Naomi, a 4-year-old son named Micah. He's never told you because he didn't want to ruin this." Alan storms up, tries to grab the mic. I hold it away. He yells, "You're out of line." I say, "You're a father, act like one." Pandemonium. Naomi runs out. Her mom chases her. My parents look like they've seen a ghost. Alan is shouting at me, calling me jealous, a liar, mentally. Unstable. I leave. I don't stay for the aftermath. The fallout has been nuclear. Alan hasn't spoken to me since. Naomi called off the wedding the next day. She sent me a message saying thank you, that she deserved to know, that she wasn't sure if she hated me or loved me, but she appreciated the truth. Lila sent me a photo of Micah holding a toy fire truck, with a note. He asked if this is what his dad uses at work. My parents are furious. They said I ruined Alan's life, that I should have handled it quietly, that I shamed our family. My mother sobbed on the phone for 45 minutes about how people will talk. But my conscience is clean. Alan was building a marriage on a lie. Naomi didn't deserve that. Micah doesn't deserve to grow up thinking he's a shameful secret. And I wasn't going to let my brother pretend to be a hero while hiding from fatherhood. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for detonating my brother's wedding with the truth? Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's new wife that I'm his real daughter at his wedding? This is going to sound insane. I've been putting off writing this because part of me feels like I hallucinated the whole thing. But it happened. I have pictures. I have texts. I have a whole inbox of chaos. I just want peace. So here goes. I, 26F, have a dad, obviously. But for most of my life, I've felt like a background character in his movie. He's always been that guy, charismatic, loud, the center of attention. If he were an actor, he'd be the one making Oscars speeches with zero shame. Think cool dad vibes, always has a story, always has a crowd, and always has a new woman. My mum and dad divorced when I was 8. No big scandal. Just incompatibility and, frankly, a lot of immaturity on both sides. Mum remarried a gentle librarian. Dad remarried a yoga instructor, then a graphic designer. Then a woman from Argentina, who vanished mysteriously, still not clear on that story. By the time I turned 18, he was on marriage number 4. None of them lasted more than 3 years, and somewhere along the way I became less of a daughter and more of a prop. I'd get calls like, "Hey, sweetie, want to come to brunch with me and Yvonne? She'd love to meet you." Which meant, come make me look like a good dad in front of my new girlfriend. If I said no, he'd guilt-trip me with, "You know how hard it is for me to keep relationships going. Just show up for me, 1 hour. That's all I ask." So I'd go and smile and be the perfect funny daughter. I joked with friends that I was his emotional wing woman. Anyway, last year he calls me up out of the blue, says, "Guess what, superstar? I'm getting married again." I don't respond right away. He goes, "Aren't you going to congratulate me?" I sigh. "What's this one's name?" He laughs. "Claire, she's incredible. You're going to love her. And you're going to be a bridesmaid." I say no. He sounds wounded. "Why not?" Because I've already been a bridesmaid to your marriages twice. I'm not doing it again. There's a pause. Then he says something. That stuck with me. Well, if you're not going to support me, maybe you shouldn't come at all. So I don't. I don't go to the engagement party. I don't respond to the save the date. I live 3 hours away and have a full-time job as a nurse. I'm exhausted 24/7. And I honestly don't want to watch him crash and burn another relationship while dragging me along as his charming daughter. I just can't. Fast forward to the wedding day. I'm off work. I'm at home in sweats, eating cereal out of a measuring cup because all my bowls are dirty. That's when my phone starts blowing up. Texts, missed calls, Instagram tags. Apparently, I am at the wedding. Or rather, someone is pretending to be me at the wedding. I blink, scroll through Instagram. There's a photo of a tall blonde girl with my dad captioned, "So honored to be standing by my amazing dad's side today. Love you forever, Daddy." And she's tagged as me, only she's not me. I click through her profile. All the photos are recent. All the captions weirdly reference my life. Same career, same dog breed, same favorite movie as I've told. People. She even reposted an old photo of my dad and me from 2016 and captioned it, "One of my favorite memories." I stare at her account in shock. She's got followers, mutual friends. Some people I haven't spoken to since high school commenting, "You look amazing. So happy for your family." I call my dad, he doesn't answer. I try again, straight to voicemail. I text him, "Who is that woman pretending to be me?" No response. I lose my mind a little. 15 minutes later, I get a DM from Claire, the bride. It says, "Hey, sweetie, I know this is probably hard for you, but please don't ruin this day. Let your father be happy." What? Let me just pause here to say, I have never met Claire. I've never spoken to her. I didn't even know her last name until that moment. And now she's calling me sweetie and telling me not to ruin her wedding. I snap. I drive the 3 hours in a rage spiral. I show up at the wedding. Outdoor ceremony. Very Pinterest. People sipping champagne. A harpist playing Can't Help Falling in Love. I march past the servers and down the aisle like a hurricane in yoga pants. Heads turn. The harpist stops playing. I see her. The fake me. She's laughing with guests. Holding a glass of wine. Wearing a custom sash that says daughter of the groom. My dad sees me and goes pale. I say loud enough for everyone to hear, "Hey, Claire. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Mark's real daughter." Silence. Claire stares at me like I've slapped her. "What?" Fake me tries to slip away. I block her. "Who the hell are you?" I demand. She stammers, Mark said I could. He wanted you here." I look at my dad. "What the fuck is happening?" He pulls me aside, starts blabbering. Says he wanted Claire to think he had a wholesome, intact family, that he couldn't count on me to show up. So he borrowed someone to play the part. Let me repeat that. He hired a woman, a freelance actress from some agency, yes. She's on Fiverr to pretend to be me at his wedding, because he didn't trust me not to make a scene or embarrass him. And then she liked the role so much, she just kept using my identity online. I walked. I drove home in total silence. No music. "Just thoughts," Claire texted me the next day. Said I'd traumatized her wedding. Said I should grow up and understand what it means to support family. My dad emailed me a few days later. Subject line, "What you did was cruel." He said I could have just played along for the day and not embarrassed him, in front of Claire's family. I told him I hope marriage number 5 works out. I blocked him. Now extended family is divided. Some think what he did was bizarre but understandable. Others are horrified. My aunt told me she thought it was kind of funny and that I should take it as a compliment, that I was important enough to impersonate. I've since sent takedown requests for all the social media content using my name. And the actress messaged me an apology, said she was just following direction, offered to take me out to coffee. I said no. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for showing up to my dad's wedding and causing a scene, or was I justified in losing my mind? After watching someone LARP as my existence, am I the a-hole for forcing my sister to attend my wedding, even though her husband just died? I know how that title sounds. I sound like a monster. A selfish, inconsiderate bridezilla of a monster. But I swear there's more to the story. There's so much more. I don't know if anyone will believe me, but I need to get this off my chest, and maybe, just maybe, get some peace of mind. So, background, I, 29F, got married 3 weeks ago to my now husband, Jack, 31 Mem. We've been together for 6 years and engaged for 2. Our relationship has had its ups and downs like most do, but we genuinely love each other. He's been my rock through some really horrible stuff, including my estrangement from my parents. And a long history of family drama. That's a whole separate post on its own. My sister, let's call her Megan, 32F, and I were always close growing up. Think Gilmore Girls level banter, inside jokes, and a sibling telepathy that freaked people out. But that changed about 5 years ago. She met her husband, Paul, and everything shifted. Paul was charming. I'll give him that. He was the kind of guy that could sell sand in a desert. He had that Ted Bundy charisma, handsome, smooth-talking, smart. At first, I liked him. I even joked to Megan that he was probably a spy or an assassin because he was so perfect. That joke didn't age. Well, the change was slow. First, she started cancelling plans last minute. Then she stopped answering calls unless he was away. She lost weight, but not in a healthy way. She quit her job to support Paul's startup, which we later found out didn't exist. Her wardrobe changed. Her personality dimmed. I tried talking to her, many times. But she always brushed it off. He's just stressed. We're figuring things out. I'm just tired. Classic lines. I saw the signs, the manipulation, the isolation, the control. But when I tried to step in, Megan would defend him, loudly, violently, like I had insulted a god. We had a huge falling out in 2021. I confronted her about bruises I saw on her wrist at a family barbecue. She screamed at me in front of everyone, called me jealous, bitter, pathetic, said I just wanted to ruin her life because I was always the pretty one, the favored one, the lucky one. That one stung. I hadn't heard her talk like that since high school when our parents used to pit us against each other. She cut me off completely after that, blocked me on everything, told my extended family I tried to sabotage her marriage. I didn't hear from her for over a year. Fast forward to early 2023, I get a message out of nowhere from Megan. Just one line, I'm sorry, I need help. I dropped everything. I didn't care what had happened before. I drove 6 hours to her town, picked her up from a battered women's shelter and brought her to live with me. She was a ghost of herself. Sunken eyes, cigarette burns on her arms, hair falling out. She barely spoke for weeks. When she finally opened up, the things she told me made me physically ill. Paul had been abusive, emotionally, mentally, physically. He had cameras in their home, a tracker in her phone. He'd taken her passport and driver's license. He had convinced her she'd go to jail if she ever left him, told her no one would believe her because she had a history of being dramatic. Gaslit her into thinking she was losing her mind. He'd even faked emails from me, pretending I'd said awful things about her. That was why she flipped on me so hard at the barbecue. He showed her fake texts of me supposedly calling her pathetic and a lost cause. She'd believed him. Why wouldn't she? He'd isolated her so thoroughly she didn't trust her own reflection. For months, she lived with Jack and me. Slowly healing, slowly coming back. She got therapy, cut her hair, started laughing again, and we reconnected. It was like having my sister back from the dead. In January, she moved into a tiny apartment near us. It wasn't much, but it was hers. I helped her furnish it. Jack helped set up her Wi-Fi. Things were finally looking up. Then Paul died, car accident, head-on collision with a semi. Died instantly, no other passengers, no foul play, just gone. You'd think Megan would be relieved. Right, free, safe, but no, she spiraled. Guilt, grief, confusion, even trauma bonds. She started having panic attacks again. Nightmares. She said she felt like she killed him by leaving, like the universe punished him because she dared to get out. It was hard to watch, and I tried to be there for her. But here's where things get complicated. My wedding was scheduled for 2 weeks after Paul's death. Yes, 2 weeks. It had been planned for over a year. Deposits paid, Guests flying in, venue locked, flowers ordered. Jack's elderly grandmother coming from Ireland, thousands of dollars spent, dozens of moving parts. It wasn't just a party, it was a lifetime milestone. Megan was supposed to be my maid of honor. When Paul died, I gently told her she could step back if she needed to. She said she wanted to go through with it, that it might give her a sense of normalcy. She even helped with last-minute details. We had a dress fitting 3 days before the wedding. She seemed okay. Then, on the morning of the wedding, she just vanished. No call, no note, just gone. Her phone was off, her apartment locked. I called hospitals, police. I was 2 seconds from cancelling the ceremony when she finally texted me, "I can't do it. I'm sorry." I lost it. All the grief. All the stress, all the tension. I exploded. I texted back something I immediately regretted. Something cruel. I won't repeat it here. But it wasn't fair. I was angry, yes. But I shouldn't have said what I said. We went through with the ceremony. It was beautiful, yes. But there was a shadow over the whole day. A missing presence, a hole in every picture, every toast, every smile. The next day, Megan showed up at my house, pale, eyes swollen, said she'd tried to kill herself the night before. Pills and wine. Said the only reason she didn't go through with it was because she puked halfway through and passed out. I sat with her while she cried. I held her, called her therapist, got her into a crisis center, and then I went into the bathroom and screamed until I lost my voice. Here's the twist. This week, I found out the real reason she didn't come to my wedding. It wasn't just grief. She'd gotten a visit from Paul's brother, a guy she barely knew. He showed up unannounced, told her Paul had left her something. A safety deposit box key, inside, a flash drive, and a letter. The letter said, "If you're reading this, it means I'm dead. But don't worry. I made sure I'm not forgotten." On the flash drive, videos, dozens of them, of Megan, sleeping, showering, changing, crying. Videos clearly taken without her knowledge, but that wasn't the worst part. There were also videos of me inside my home. From when she was living with us, he had hacked our security cameras, installed spyware on her phone. He had been watching us the whole time, watching me. There were audio, recordings of conversations between me and Jack, private moments, intimate moments. He'd been planning something. We don't know what, but it wasn't good. Megan found the drive the night before my wedding. She freaked out, blamed herself, thought she'd endangered me, thought maybe Paul had left more traps behind. She spent the whole night scrubbing her phone, checking our house, crying, hyperventilating, trying to protect me in the only way she knew how, by disappearing. She didn't want to bring that darkness into my big day, so now I'm sitting here. Married, confused, angry, heartbroken, relieved all at once. I've since turned everything over to the police. We've changed all our passwords, got new phones, replaced the security system. But the psychological violation? That doesn't go away. Neither does the guilt. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for being angry that my sister missed my wedding, or am I just a traumatized bride who didn't see the whole story until it was too late? Am I the a-hole for secretly recording my wife's book club and uncovering something worse than cheating? I don't even know where to begin, but if I don't get this out of me, I'm going to lose it. For the record, I, 38M, was married to my wife Katie, 36F, for 10 years. I say was, even though technically we're still legally married because everything in me feels like the marriage is dead. I met Katie in grad school. She was loud, funny, whip-smart, and unapologetically herself. She had this way of commanding a room not by force but by laughter. She loved murder mysteries, wine tastings, long debates about true crime documentaries, and had a laugh that could disarm the most uptight professors. I was more reserved, a little awkward, always the guy on the edges of the party holding one drink and trying to look comfortable. Katie dragged me out of my shell. She made life feel less like something to endure and more like something to explore. We got married after 3 years. Things were great at first. We bought a small house, started renovating it ourselves, which was hilarious and a disaster, adopted a golden retriever named Gus, and started building this little life that felt pretty damn solid. We never wanted kids, by choice, not circumstance, And people used to say we were that couple, the ones that seem like they really enjoy each other's company. I thought we did, until the book club started. Now let me say this, Katie had always been into true crime. She loved podcasts, documentaries, Netflix specials, everything. So when she said she was joining a women's book club to read and discuss true crime novels, I didn't even blink. She was thrilled. They met every Thursday night, sometimes at someone's house, sometimes in cafes. There were about 7 of them, all women from what she told me. She even showed me a few photos, smiling women with wine glasses, books spread out on the table. I thought, cool, she found a tribe, but something shifted about 6 months in. She started dressing up for book club, not just cute dresses, tight dresses, high heels, push-up bras, lipstick that left stains on the rim of her wine glass. I joked about it once. "Who are you trying to impress, Agatha Christie?" And she laughed it off, saying it made her feel good to dress up. Fine. I wasn't going to be the insecure husband. But then came the other stuff. She started hiding her phone. She changed her passcode. She started coming home smelling like cologne, not perfume. I asked her once if someone in the group wore it, and she said, "Oh yeah, Michelle's husband. Sometimes drives her and waits in the car. He wears way too much cologne." I let it go, because I trusted her, until the night she came home drunk and said something that snapped me in half. She stumbled through the door at 1 a.m. Book club always ended by 10, reeking of whiskey and something else, sweat maybe, and dropped her. Purse on the floor. I helped her upstairs. She flopped on the bed and said, "You know, they say people who kill together stay together." I laughed, thinking it was one of her dark jokes. Then she whispered, "Would you help me bury a body?" "If I asked you to." I said, "Jesus, Katie, what?" She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Never mind, you're not him," then passed out. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the hallway with Gus and stared at the floor until the sun came up. The next morning, she was all smiles, made pancakes, kissed me on the cheek. I asked if she remembered what she said last night. She pretended not to. I didn't push, but something in me snapped. I bought a small voice-activated recorder off Amazon, slipped it into her purse before the next book club. It killed me to do it, but the not knowing was worse. She got home late. I waited until she was asleep and pulled the recorder out, and what I heard, it wasn't a book club. There were no discussions about novels, no talk about authors. What I heard was a group of women, at least 5, talking in explicit, unfiltered detail about their real lives, their affairs, their secrets, their plans. The most consistent voice was Katie. She was bragging about her affair with someone she called the magician. She described in grotesque detail how he makes her disappear for hours and how he's better than any fantasy. She laughed about how gullible I was, how easy it was to lie, how boring I'd become. She called our marriage comfortable, like a couch with too many stains you don't notice anymore. The other women laughed. One joked, "You gonna leave him?" And Katie said, "When the timing's right, maybe after the cabin trip, we've got plans." I sat in the dark, listening to this woman I thought I knew talk about me like I was an old shoe she couldn't wait to toss out. But it gets worse. One of the other women started talking about how her husband caught her cheating and threatened to go public with evidence. Katie said, "You need to be smart, get ahead of it, make him seem unstable. If he looks crazy, no one believes a thing he says." Then another voice, one I didn't recognize, said, "That's what we did with Ferker's ex. Now he's in therapy and we're free." There was silence. Then laughter, cold, sharp, like knives on plates. It wasn't just a cheating ring. It was something else. I listened to the next recording, and the next, over a month of meetings, and the picture I pieced together chilled me to the bone. These women weren't just cheating. They were conspiring, manipulating their partners, gaslighting them. One faked a pregnancy to extort money. One planted evidence of infidelity to win custody. They even had a code system, phrases like "plant the seed," "flip the lens," "couch the crazy." It was like a cult or a club for emotional terrorists. I confronted Katie. She didn't even try to deny it. She looked at me and said, "You weren't supposed to hear that. But now that you have, what are you going to do? You think anyone's..." Going to believe you over us, I said. I have recordings. She smiled. And you think that helps you? You were spying on your wife. That's a great look in court. Then she walked out. That was 2 months ago. She's now living in the cabin with the magician. Her lawyer served me papers claiming emotional abuse, controlling behavior, and possible wiretapping. She's trying to paint me as the monster. She's told our friends I was obsessed with controlling her and that I monitored her every move. Half of them dropped me. The other half are confused. I have the recordings. I have the proof. But I also have the gut-deep fear that she's right. That in this world, a man accusing a group of women of psychological warfare just sounds bitter and unhinged. So here I am. Am I the a-hole for recording my wife? For confronting her? For planning to release the recordings to protect myself, even if it destroys her reputation and every friendship we ever had? Or should I burn the tapes, walk away, and accept that the person I loved never actually existed? Am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive my wife for a lie so massive it rewrote our entire marriage? Let me start by saying I loved my wife more than I've loved anything in my entire life. I know people say that and don't always mean it, but I do, or did. I don't know what the right verb is anymore. Her name is Lauren. She's 36, I'm 39. We met 12 years ago when I was still recovering from a messy divorce and she was dating a mutual friend. That friend, who shall remain unnamed for now, introduced us at a trivia night. We sat across from each other on opposite teams, and she kept stealing answers by eavesdropping on us and writing the correct ones before we could. I thought it was hilarious. Our mutual friend did not. Their relationship crumbled a few months later, and Lauren and I kept in touch. It wasn't an immediate romance. It grew like ivy, quietly and all around me before I realized how deep it had rooted itself. Within 2 years we were living together. Within 3, married. Our life was good. Not perfect, but good. We fought sometimes about small things, laundry. On the floor, my tendency to disappear into books for hours, her habit of answering questions with questions. But overall, we were solid. People would always say, "You two just make sense," and I believed it. We had 3 dogs, 2 cats, no kids by choice, and a shared Google Calendar that looked like a game of Tetris. Lauren worked in non-profit development, meaning she wrote grant proposals and had a master's in making millionaires feel like saviors. I worked in tech consulting, mostly remote. Our house was modest, our lives intertwined, our sex life comfortable, if not adventurous. We weren't flashy. We were a well-worn hoodie of a couple, and I liked it that way. Then last summer, everything changed. It started when Lauren's mother passed away unexpectedly. Heart attack. 1 minute she was making tea, the next she was gone. Lauren was devastated. Her father had died years prior, so she was now, as she put it, nobody's daughter. She took it hard. I tried to be there. I cooked, cleaned, walked the dogs, handled bills. I held her when she cried and didn't push when she retreated. She went through her mother's things over the course of a few weekends. Papers, photos, boxes of keepsakes from her childhood, and became increasingly withdrawn. Then one day she sat me down and said, "I found something." What she showed me was an old, leather-bound diary. Her mother's, apparently. I expected sappy memories, or maybe a juicy affair. Instead, it was something worse. Lauren had a sister, a twin, born minutes after her. The baby had health issues, oxygen deprivation, a weak heart, and died at 6 months old. Her parents never told her. There wasn't a single photo. Not one. Mention in her entire life. The only reason she found out was because her mother, in one of the final diary entries, wrote, "I sometimes wonder who they both would have become. 2 daughters. One life stolen to save the other." Lauren was shattered, not just by the death, but by the lie, by the silence. She spiraled into this existential hole, questioning if she was loved, if she was meant to survive, if her life had always been borrowed. She started therapy. She started drinking more. She'd sit on the porch for hours smoking American spirits and listening to 90s music, crying without making a sound. I was patient, supportive, confused but loyal, until one night I went to bed and she wasn't home. Her car was gone. I called, no answer. She came back at 2:30 a.m. smelling like bourbon and cigarettes, wearing clothes I hadn't seen in years. A low-cut red top, black jeans, heels. I asked her where she'd been. She said, "I just needed to feel like myself again." I didn't. Press. Then the lies began. Little things at first. Telling me she was going to therapy when she wasn't. Telling me she'd be working late when she was out drinking alone. Her emails started to pile up. Bills went unpaid. I found a bottle of Xanax in her sock drawer, unprescribed. I asked her about it. She said, "Sometimes I need help shutting it all off." I begged her to be honest with me. She told me she didn't know how. Then came the envelope. It arrived on a Wednesday, no return address, just my name. Inside were 3 photographs, all of Lauren. One of her sitting at a bar with a man I didn't recognize, laughing, her hand on his knee. One of her kissing him outside the bar. One of them entering a motel room. My chest caved in. I didn't confront her right away. I needed proof. I started checking phone records. Location history. Her laptop, her texts were wiped clean, but I found a hidden photo vault on her phone with hundreds of pictures. Her and the same man over and over. Restaurants, hotel rooms, even one at our house on our couch. I confronted her. She didn't deny it. But then came the twist. The man wasn't just anyone. He was the mutual friend from the trivia night, her ex. The guy who introduced us. She said they'd reconnected after her mum died, that he reached out to offer support, that it started as a drink and turned into something else. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said, almost a year. A year. That meant it started before her mom died. Before the diary. Before the unraveling. It wasn't grief, it wasn't trauma, it was betrayal, plain and simple. I told her to leave. She begged me not to, said she was sorry, said it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, that she still loved. Me, I said, if it meant nothing, why'd you do it over and over? Why didn't you stop? She said, because he knew me before I became someone I didn't recognize. That line is what broke me, because I realized then she didn't want me. She wanted the version of herself that existed before we met. She wanted to go back in time and pick a different path, so I filed for divorce. Now here's where things get murky. She told our friends and family a very different version of the story, that I abandoned her during grief, that I was cold, that I couldn't handle her being broken. She left out the affair. She left out the year-long deception. Suddenly I was the villain. People stopped talking to me. Her sister-in-law sent me a furious email saying I should have stood by her instead of throwing her out like garbage. I've kept the photos, the texts, the hidden vault, but I haven't shared them. Not even once. Because part of me thinks if I do, I become the petty ex-husband, but part of me also wonders, maybe I should. Maybe the truth deserves to be known. So Reddit, tell me, am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive her for filing for divorce and for not correcting the story she's spreading? Or should I let her rewrite our history while I quietly disappear from it? Am I the a-hole for exposing the real reason my sister went missing on live TV after everyone thought she was a hero? This is going to sound insane. If you told me even a year ago that I'd be sitting here writing this, I'd have laughed in your face. My sister Eva, 34F, was the golden child. I, 31mem, was the one who faded into the background. Not bitter, just realistic. Ava was everything you're supposed to be in a storybook life. Smart, kind, beautiful, and always 10 steps ahead. I don't mean that sarcastically. She was an overachiever in the truest sense. Valedictorian, Ivy League, Peace Corps, then a criminal defense lawyer who specialized in wrongful convictions. Our family practically carved her into a saint while I just existed. I don't mind being invisible. I'm a school librarian. I like the quiet. A year ago, Eva vanished. It was a media circus. She didn't show up for court one morning, and the panic lit like wildfire. It made national news within 2 days. Her fiancé, Andrew, was inconsolable, on camera begging for her return. My mom collapsed during an interview. My dad flew in from a fishing trip in Alaska and aged 10 years overnight. Candlelight vigils, missing posters, hashtags, TikToks with theories. People called her the next Gabby Petito, but with a law degree and better hair. And for a while we all believed the same story, that Eva had been abducted, that maybe one of her exonerated clients wanted revenge, that something happened to her. The thing is, I never believed it, because I knew something nobody else did, something Eva made me swear I'd never tell, something that sat rotting in my brain for 3 years like a secret corpse. Eva was planning to disappear, and she was never the woman people thought she was. Let me go back. 3 years before she vanished, Eva called me crying. Her hands were shaking so hard she dropped her wine glass while we FaceTimed. "I think I did something terrible," she said. I thought she meant a mistake in court, a miscarriage of justice, something professional. No. She confessed to me that she had framed someone, a client, a man named Miguel Santos. He'd been accused of murdering his girlfriend, and all the evidence pointed to him until Eva came in with a perfectly timed alibi, 2 reliable witnesses, and a flair for courtroom theatrics. The jury took 3 hours to find him not guilty. Eva made headlines as a genius defender. The Innocence Project praised her. Santos walked free. But here's the truth. Santos did do it. Eva knew. She just didn't care. Because the DA had offered her a deal, win 3 high-profile cases in a year, and they'd fast-track her for a judicial seat. It was political, it was strategic, it was evil, and she did it. That night, on FaceTime, she told me everything, how she paid off the witnesses, how she doctored evidence, how she justified it by convincing herself the cops were corrupt, how she thought, maybe he's guilty, but the system is worse. She cried and said, "I don't know who I am anymore." I begged her to come clean. She said, "If I go down, I ruin everything, my career, my legacy, Mom and Dad, Andrew, everything." So, I made a deal with her. If she promised to stop, no more fraud, no more manipulation, I'd take it to the grave. And for 3 years I kept that promise, until she vanished. At first I thought maybe she'd finally snapped. Guilt, pressure, mental breakdown. But then I got an email. No subject line, no signature. Just, "I'm not missing. Don't look. For me. I'll contact you when it's safe." Attached was a PDF, a scanned copy of a fake passport under the name Elena Marquez. My heart sank. Eva hadn't been kidnapped. She'd run. She'd faked the whole thing. And everyone was grieving while she was sipping espresso in God knows where. I held on to that secret for 6 months, until Andrew proposed turning Eva's disappearance into a documentary, a real docuseries, interviews, archival footage, an entire TV deal to honor her legacy and raise awareness. He got Netflix involved. Our family was thrilled. They thought it'd help keep Eva's face out there. I wanted to vomit, because I knew it was all a lie. She wasn't in danger. She wasn't a saint. And she wasn't even missing. She was a fugitive. So I did something I never imagined I'd do. I went on the show. I let them interview me for the final episode. Sat in a high-backed chair under studio lights, looked dead into the camera, and I told them everything. I told them about the fake passport, the email, the false exoneration, the bribes, the doctored evidence. I showed them the file Eva had left in a locked USB drive hidden in my old Xbox, like a backup plan in case she ever disappeared. The director thought I was having a breakdown. I said, "Just roll the damn tape." They did, and when the final episode aired, all hell broke loose. Social media imploded. Hashtags flipped from Fendiva to Char Eva the fraud. Miguel Santos was arrested within 2 days. The 2 witnesses she paid off confessed under pressure. My parents disowned me on live television. Andrew screamed at me during a CNN panel. "You murdered her memory," he said. "You destroyed the one good thing we had left." But a week later I got another email, 1 line. "You should have kept your mouth shut." That's when the power in my apartment went out. My phone bricked. My backup laptop was missing. I filed a police report. They found nothing. And then, 2 nights later, I saw her across the street. Hood up, sunglasses, watching, just watching. I didn't call out, I didn't move. She stayed for maybe 30 seconds, then vanished down the block. That was 6 months ago. I haven't seen her since. But sometimes I get these feelings, like I'm being followed. My mail shows up opened. My cat went missing for 2 days and came back with a shaved patch on his leg. My front door has been unlocked when I know I locked it. Eva is out there, watching, waiting, maybe planning. I don't know what she wants. Revenge, redemption, silence. But here I am, still standing, still waiting, still wondering if I did the right thing. Reddit, you tell me. Am I the a-hole for telling the world the truth about my sister? Or am I just the last person left who refused to believe her lies?